Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Shop Flowers Facts. Matt and his husband Jose are our next door neighbors to the other side of our unit from Myra. At face value, you could say we were on acceptable terms with Matt and Jose, but more recent events, especially their affidavit, brought the underlying resentment we sense from them towards us to the surface. Logically, an issue relating to wheat and the type of cooking they do in their living room are the main factors motivating their retaliation against us. And in their case, we don't have any doubt that this is enough motivation for them to try to destroy us. However, there sure seems to me an underlying prejudice at play here, too. Matt and Jose hope to save up enough to get their own home, and I assume that they hope it will be in a good neighborhood. Terry and I believe that it's not wealthy homes that make a good neighborhood, but good people. And frankly, these days, if they are among the few fortunate ones who get to have their own home, they should hope to have neighbors like us. Because if they end up sharing a property line, the way we have shared a wall with someone like Myra, they may find themselves reflecting on what they had done to us. Call it karma, the same system taking a turn on them, what have you. Either way, at the very least, they proved that they value being able to smoke their weed and the freedom to cook in a dangerous way more than our existence and their honor, assuming they ever had any honor to begin with. I have posted their affidavit on my Instagram page for the entirety of the verbiage in it to be read. In this video, I will address some of the highlights. Let's start with him saying how tenants were disturbed because of the police yelling, which is a common thing that's getting mentioned. We are not in control of what the police do. This includes how loud they knock on doors, how loud they talk, how much they yell, or how loud they bang on a gate that, unlike pretty much every other building, didn't at the time have a keypad. Actually, several times, I asked the police to be quieter, and when I did, they became upset with me. It reached a point that I had to stop asking them, or it would have made another problem. On several other occasions, Myra and her guests prompted the police to yell. Although Matt refers to something that took place in mid 2025, when it actually in 2022, he does refer to the pandemic. When the pandemic first started, there were a lot of unknowns. But there was a lot of talk about how older people were in a much higher risk category, need to avoid the stress, and how we are all in this together. In our case, when we took a walk down Hesby, people would give us a friendly nod, say hello, make a friendly gesture, and overall just try to express to us or anyone else their support and encouragement in whatever small yet helpful way they could. And for a brief time, it did make us feel a lot better. Unfortunately, we had to start dreading the contrast as we started approaching our way back to our building, where Myra would often be waiting to greet us by calling us bitch. Terry was fearful of and disturbed by the idea of our stressful environment, further increasing his chances of catching the virus, which would give it to me. And in such a scenario, I may survive, but he might not, or be left in a condition that would be too difficult for me to deal with. In either case, during the time when I often groaned and cried in agonizing pain from an ongoing tooth condition, Myra mocked me through the walls, maliciously mimicking my reactions to the pain. So Terry was very sensitive to the way she was intentionally making him more susceptible to the virus, knowing she would mock me in the same way if Terry were to catch the virus because of this. On one occasion, Terry wasn't feeling well and appeared to be showing symptoms that made us think he might have caught the virus. Perhaps, like the police calls at the time, Myra might have heard our concerns through the wall because she started violently blasting music. And like so many other times, then and afterward, when I released some ice from the ice cube trays, she responded to the sound by banging and loudly knocking on our wall. And in Matt's affidavit, he says how we constantly knocked on their adjoining wall in the night, which is another lie with a disturbing irony, given we have so many recordings of Myra banging on our walls at all hours of day and night. At the time, we thought Terry was showing signs that he may have caught the virus, and we called the police. And when they came, all of the aforementioned, combined with all the years of accumulated and ignored abuse, momentarily prompted Terry to verbally express his anger louder than he would have liked to or normally would, and it has since been capitalized on to no end. Matt, Jose, and Eric surely heard the many times when Terry knocked on Myra's door at 2, 3, 5 a.m. in the morning, often waiting in the cold for several minutes before she answered, and when she did, he practically begged her to keep things down, saying to her things like, I don't want to spoil your fun, but you're really loud, so if you could please try to be a little quieter. The best he got in return was, don't worry about it, we'll be leaving in half an hour, and closed the door in his face. Terry said he feels like a chump for trying to reason with her that day for so long. Unfortunately, Terry's struggle to keep this peace in a way a lot of people wouldn't have was taken for weakness, and after getting cancer and not having any contact with her for years, she filed a restraining order against him, saying among other things that he was loud and that he put knife marks on her door. For that, please refer to video 20. Myra's abuse towards us was well known and easy to recognize in several ways. Yet that isolated incident I referred to was blown out of proportion, twisted around, and capitalized on to a sickening degree. Moreover, the disturbance wasn't any more than that what Myra has done countless times when just coming in early morning hours from a night out. Incidentally, after Jay moved the goalpost with his agreement he had with us about evicting Myra, he used the pandemic as justification for Myra to blast music and anything else she wanted to do. Matt seems to be referring to the incident on 11/25/22 when he said we disturbed the peace in the middle of the night by arguing with Unit 15. Matt and Jose didn't show themselves that night, but assuming they were home, just the fact that they are saying nothing about what is heard and seen in our video that Myra and Michael did says a lot about where they are and why. In the same manner, all of Myra's transgressions towards us went unnoticed by them, such as when Myra paused by our door, arms locked around another one of the many guys who came to her place, and through our screen door said to me, I'm going to Cancun, bitch, with a nice inflection on the noun of direct address, which was me. Yet, when we tried to go through some evidence for a RO, which Myra ended up filing against us first, this same I'm going to Cancun bitch was made out to be an issue by them because we were playing videos of Myra's visitors. Matt and Jose can't even have the decency not to accuse us of slamming doors and windows when everyone knows we are among the few tenants who take note not to do that, even with a damaged window that wasn't fixed. Then there is the accusation about bleach stains and missing shirts, which, like several other accusations, is echoing what Myra has been saying for several years. In actuality, it is Myra who uses bleach so excessively that the strong residual smell of bleach lingers for hours after she finishes doing her laundry. And as previously mentioned, accusing us of banging on their wall is another disturbing reversal of facts that is being echoed from Myra, which we have ample videos to prove. In this so-called non-smoking building, for years, Matt and Jose have been resentful of the fact that they have had to keep their windows and door closed while they smoke weed, so that we don't smell and inhale secondhand smoke, which we have told them has a very bad effect on us. The smell wafts into our unit even when they open their door for a short time, and they themselves are constantly coughing, which we can only assume is a result of their own secondhand smoke. Moreover, Due to cost, they may not be using regulated weed bought from a licensed dispensary, making the secondhand smoke likely more dangerous, potentially containing contaminants or added drugs that can cause acute, life-threatening reactions. We can't say to what degree black market weed impacts one's psychological stability, but in addition to their warped claims, they have often been very temperamental, and with Matt's size and youth, he has had a bullying type demeanor with Terry. When Matt and Jose smoked weed in their unit while their front window was open, the second-hand smoke wafted into our unit whenever we had our window or door open. When Terry approached Matt about the weed, he was very delicate in tone and with wording, saying to Matt that he didn't want him to feel like he was being bothered, but if he could do us a favor by keeping his living room window closed when they smoked weed in their unit, because it wafts into our unit and has a very bad effect on us. It is now obvious that this is one of the things Matt and Jose have resented ever since and are now attempting to retaliate for. It is also interesting that in their list of complaints we so wrongly bother them about, nothing is mentioned anywhere to anyone about Terry asking them to keep their window closed while smoking weed in their unit. Maybe it's because it is supposed to be a non-smoking building, a building that the former tenant was threatened with eviction for because Maggie and Stacy complained to Jay about him smoking. As I mentioned in previous videos, Maggie and Stacy are two of the neighbors who signed affidavits against us, and Stacy is one of the witnesses for our eviction. On several occasions, Maggie has been quick to aggressively tell tenants who smoke in our building that this is a non-smoking building. Now, however, Maggie is saying we harass Matt and Jose too. Also, Matt mentioned how we were patrolling him, and given how much he's noticed about us, like the other tenants who monitor us so keenly, it begs the question who has been patrolling who. Incidentally, when Terry told Jay about the use of weed in this building, he responded to Terry by saying, "Maybe you like it." In Matt's affidavit, he refers to Jose, who, among some other things, said I was stalking the workers who were doing work on a vacant unit. For now, we'll refrain from the details of this, but stalking is a big word that Matt and Jose should answer to. I will, however, just add that the incident Jose is referring to happened on Valentine's Day, and we can't remember the last Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, birthday, Valentine's Day, or anniversary that hasn't been made horrible for us by Myra and company, all of which is now being used against us in a cruel and perverse manner. As we said to Jay, a lot of real safety issues keep getting ignored. The way Matt cooks with an open flame in his unit has been a concern for us for a long time, and Jose's open prejudice and hypocrisy that day prompted us to get around to what we've been waiting to say for a long time. And that was the danger associated with Matt cooking with an open flame next to his living room window that was near several flammable materials. The open flame was likely connected to some sort of fuel tank, which together with two high individuals in the cramped space of their congested bachelor apartment is a disaster waiting to happen. A disaster that was directly on the other side of our wall and our only practical exit, at least for Terry. Truth be told, thinking about it made us upset, considering that at the very least it could make us homeless at any moment, and how it's already been a miracle that it hasn't happened already. Suffice to say that if such a thing were to happen, Jay wouldn't welcome any documentation that might reach his insurance company. In either case, Matt and Jose started becoming more abusive with us right after we brought this to Jay's attention. For example, when the keypad stopped working and we tried to put up a sign to direct any deliveries to the back gate, they tore them down several times. And when I tried to ask Matt why he was doing this, he said, I don't want to have anything to do with you. For all he knew, we could have been waiting for a delivery for some important medication, which has been the case many times. Shortly after tearing down the signs on the gate, Matt put up, as he referred to, a project board that he said was for privacy. Matt also said that I tried to take a picture of inside his unit. What Matt intentionally left out is that in the middle of that project board, he put a sign that said, "Mind your own business," a sign that was obviously directed at us. And given the nature of this, I decided to take a picture, at which point Matt seemed to be waiting for me as he said, "Haha," and took a picture of me that Jay is apparently using to claim I take pictures in the tenants' windows, as mentioned in our eviction notice. What else, like so many other things, hasn't been mentioned is that on that day, Matt gave the middle fingers into our security camera 3 times, just like Myra, whom he's so concerned about, has done many times. And the only reason he stopped was because we informed Jay, who evidently told him to stop so he wouldn't do anything that would interfere with our eviction. And to add insult to injury, Matt has criticized us for not being able to afford to move. We have a lot of reasons for being in our position. What are the reasons for 2 young and healthy men not being able to pay $300 or $400 more for a place with a kitchen, so they won't risk burning the building down? Terry said no one pisses on a Hells Angels motorcycle, and if anyone were to tell him they encountered a spacecraft with aliens, he wouldn't be anyone to determine whether or not they did. But if anyone were to tell him they saw someone flip off an Hells Angel in traffic, he would have to call BS, because that just doesn't happen. What has happened though is that because Matt knew there was a sickly senior and a woman in our unit, he, like Myra on the other side of us, felt pretty comfortable giving the middle finger into our security camera, because we all know that if he thought there had been someone formidable behind that camera, someone whom he knew his actions would invite swift and direct consequences, he would have refrained from being such a violator. And in closing, it would be interesting to know how many people have lived in a setting where the neighbors on both sides gave those people the middle finger into their security cameras and then signed sworn affidavits claiming they had been harassed by those people. If it weren't for the serious ramifications and cruel nature of this situation, this would be something you would expect to see in a comedy film. In this post, I will show videos of Matt and Jose tearing down the sign we put on the building's front gate, the sign Matt put in his window, and Matt giving the middle fingers into our security camera. Thanks for watching, and I hope you return.
Excuse me, what do you think you're doing? Okay. Perfect. The building burning down is my business.
So my neighbors have now pointed their second camera directly at our window. I know, so I flip them off every time I walk by now. Well, I did send him a picture of her taking a picture of my place today because he doesn't know that I had a sign in my window, so he doesn't see that in the picture. But I did send him.